What's up? Hey, what is up? What is up? What is up? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So, I want to go over the GM coaching meetings that we have in the offseason every single year regarding new league rule changes. Howie Roseman spoke of a few things regarding a few players, did talk about the Haason Reddick situation, not thoroughly, but I will be reading some stuff regarding that and what we could take from all this going forward. And Quez Watkins will not be a Philadelphia Eagle. He has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to go through all of that. So let's get into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. Hope everyone's enjoying their work week. And while we are doing our thing as fans to sit back, wait for the draft and other moves that could happen with the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously the NFL has their league meetings every offseason with coaches and GMs, and a lot of interviews usually take place because we haven't really heard from Howie Roseman regarding the roster, some of the signings as we usually do. And once we get to the draft, the next time we'll probably see Howie is probably at the end of the first round on draft night. So definitely a lot of, I wouldn't say thorough answers we did get, but, we'll kind of go into that in a little bit. But first bit of news I want to go over is Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins has signed a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how much it was. And to be honest with you, I'm just glad the Eagles are moving on. We saw the news last week that there was, rumors coming out that Quez could return. And this doesn't mean the Eagles are fully letting him go. And I'm really glad that they have let go. And, you signed Devontae Parker, you signed Paris Campbell, and you have Austin Watkins that's going to prove himself in training camp. And you have a pretty good wide receiver draft right now. That could, I think the Eagles are definitely going to go after another wide receiver after the first round. I think it's possible. I think it's almost 80% they're going to do it. Quez he's just underperformed. And I think the number one thing is he's just not healthy enough at certain times of the year. Like, he's missing off-season programs. I think what his best season was, 21 maybe to 22. I mean, really 21 I think was one of the best years that he's had. And unfortunately, if the guy can't stay healthy, we can't rely on him. Some of the missed opportunity, especially in the Super Bowl, I think really hurt us in that game. And I won't put that one catch on him, but hopefully another team could kind of, make his career a little bit better. And I just don't think as of right now, I mean, I would have liked to see what Kellen Moore could have done with Quez, but I kind of want to move on. I'm kind of done. I mean, for a sixth round pick, I think he's played above average to what he was supposed to do. And that's a great thing from a production value standpoint, but I'm just glad we're just moving on. And a lot of receivers in this draft, and we don't need another outside guy right now, whether it's another inside guy. When it comes to Quez Watkins, more in the slot, maybe he should have been more of an outside receiver, which he couldn't fit on this team going forward. But Kellen Moore wants to move on. Nick Sirianni in the front office want to move on. And, wish him the best of luck. But I'm just glad that we are going towards a different avenue at wide receiver. I think there's a bunch of talent, ton of talent going forward, and I think they're going to add another body sooner or later. So that is the news on Quez Watkins. Let me know what you guys think about that. That signing, at least, that he's not coming back to the Eagles. Now, Howie Roseman did speak to the media. Now, I'm going to read some things. I couldn't grab the video. I'm just afraid to get copyrighted for a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to read some things word by word as fast as I possibly can. Not too fast, but we'll go over some of it. Now, Howie had some things to say on our Howard Eskin put up some news on how he said on the Haason Reddick situation. So it says, Eagles Howie Roseman met with the media today to go over a few things. The most burning question is the latest on the situation with Haason Reddick. Howie said, really didn't want to talk about contract situation. Sounds like he would like to have it work itself out, being it's only March. So necessarily this isn't an answer from Howie, because we're not going to get answers from Howie Roseman. If Howie Roseman says it's March, it's going to work itself out, and this could mean that he's coming back, but we still don't know any background situation of what's going on. Is it draft compensation? Is it Reddick sticking with a higher number? Is it his age that's conflicted with teams giving the Eagles a higher pick? So Elliott Shore Parks put out news that from what he heard, and I can't believe it because it's just Elliott Shore Parks and nobody else, that teams are willing to give up a 4th-round pick for Haason, and that's really it. At this point, guys, like, just keep him on the roster. I mean, if you're trying to get a Super Bowl this year, seriously, even if you don't want to extend him for another year, to restructure his contract, give him more guarantees up front with some incentives, a little more guarantees, some incentives, and just let him play out the last year of his deal. The Eagles will save $11+ million in this if they extend him, if they trade him, if they restructure him. It doesn't matter. The Eagles are going to get a ton of cap back. A big chunk of cap space is coming back for Haason Reddick. So, I mean, at this point, like, I don't know where this is going. I mean, this answer right here is just saying, well, it's March. We have a lot of time. Yeah, we have a lot of time, I guess. Maybe saying that he has a lot of time is meaning that it's going in a good direction. Because I felt like if it had to get rushed, he would have got something done. Or if they were going to lose Haason, they would have already got something done. I don't know. I mean, he's still on contract with the Eagles. He's not a free agent. There's no rush to do anything. He's still on contract for the year. But to say it's only March, yeah, it's March 26th. Like, it's not like it's March 1st right now. You got the draft in less than in a month, and you got to work on some things. There's already rumors about, a trade chip. Haason Reddick could be the trade chip in the draft. But if Haason Reddick is here after the draft, then most likely he will be here. But then if Reddick comes after the draft and then he says, I'm going to hold out the contract, then the Eagles will have to trade him. But I don't think it's going to come to a holdout at this point. Through all this time, I doubt I don't think there's a fight going on, or everyone thinks that there is. I think it just comes down to, I think so Haason's taking his time, and it seems like Howie is seeing like it's something that's just going to work out itself, and maybe it's going to go in a good direction towards the Eagles. I don't know. It's going to work out from itself to a standpoint of he's going to get traded, but I don't think Howie's getting the draft compensation he wants, unfortunately, and that's just what it is right now. So that's the latest on Haason Reddick. I'm sorry it's nothing more than that, but do you think we're going to get answers today? No. Or yesterday, whenever you're watching this? No, we're not going to get any answers at all. So that's the news on Haason Reddick. Now, Howie talked about why they signed Saquon Barkley, and yeah, we'd like to know, what was the plan behind it? What was going on? So I'll read this really quick. He said, I would actually say our history is a little different than maybe is being portrayed, which is true, because the Eagles don't pay running backs, the Eagles don't extend running backs, or at least being told that it's being portrayed. I was in the front office when we paid Brian Westbrook in 2012. Sean McCoy got a $9 million a year contract when I was a GM. I think for us, it's hard to find special players at any position. We think Saquon's a special player, a special person, and when you're trying to find those guys, they're hard to find, especially on the open market. And then you put in a dynamic about have we gone so far? Has the pendulum swung so far at this position? This guy touched the ball 300 times a year. Hopefully there are not a lot of players, skill position players, that are touching the ball that many times and have that effect. So, from a talented standpoint, yeah, I mean, this is what we wanted the Eagles to overturn this season, change their philosophy, and putting more attention towards a running back, okay, which the Eagles never do. But the Eagles had some extra cap space. They weren't cap strapped. I think the financials have been pretty damn good. And Howie's been smart. I mean, obviously, there's always a bad contract here and there, but so far the Eagles have done pretty good from a financial standpoint. But getting Saquon Barkley at the open market is almost would never get a player of that caliber to be on the open market. Usually guys like that are getting traded at this point. And, I think Howie values this, and I'm glad he has changed his philosophy, and having Saquon Barkley, because you literally have a 3-down back here for 2 years. Third year is an option year for Saquon. We'll see how that goes. But you have a big weapon. As much as you have your offensive line, as much as you have 2 number 1 receivers with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and a top 3 tight end in Dallas Goedert, I mean, to add a guy at running back like this, and what he could do in the passing game, and just the world wanting to see what Saquon is going to do just being with a good team. It's not even just for the Eagles fans, it's for the whole world. I think everybody wants to know where Saquon was going. If where he was going, he was always going to be better than the New York Giants. And obviously, John Mara had a lot to say about Saquon Barkley, and he was hoping to God that he wasn't going to be within the NFC East, that he had a feeling that it was going to happen. But, didn't think it was going to happen. Like he was just on and off about it. But, so John Mara said he hated seeing Saquon Barkley leave, texted him and told him if I made him sick shortly after he signed, the fact that he left for the Eagles made it a tougher pill to swallow. Said he was hoping Barkley would be back, referenced the 2 contracts the Giants offered him. But let me tell you, if the Giants thought he was the face of that franchise, which he should have been because he was carrying that offense, he was the only one really doing much of anything between Saquon having 3 different head coaches, including the one that, when he was drafted. Okay. You haven't found the right quarterback. You haven't found a number 1 receiver. You've gave bad contracts out constantly. You haven't built your offensive line since he's been drafted. I mean, how much can this guy do? How much, till he says, I'm done with this. I want to go to a more successful team where the Eagles' run game is bread and butter. Where Barkley has seen his college teammate in Miles Sanders get 1,000 yards in Philadelphia. DeAndre Swift 1,000 yards in Philadelphia. And Saquon Barkley's like, man, like me behind that line. The money worked out. The money was good. Second or third highest paid running back in the league, and the Eagles did that for him. The Giants had every bit of a chance. That money that you gave Daniel Jones would have been a lot more cheaper. They should have, gave him a part of that money. And I don't care what those 2 other contracts were, but they had their chance, and they couldn't do anything with it. So John Mara is sharding himself as we speak when it comes to the contract for Saquon Barkley and what they could have done, what they could have, would have, should have. Obviously, they didn't go that hard into re-signing him. If they really want to make it work, they would have made it work. And now they got to deal with it in the division. You just made a division rival a lot stronger with him in the backfield, where you gave him to a team that pretty much has a pretty good offensive line for a long time. The offensive line for the Eagles has always been good, never have issues. And, now we're going to see what Saquon Barkley looks, with all those weapons around in that offense with Kellen Moore being the OC, and that's where it's going. Now, Howie did talk about Bryce Huff, because that was your highest signing, obviously, at $17 million a year. This is what Howie had to say on Bryce Huff. He said, heavy-handed, understands leverage, has explosiveness in his body. The Jets did an unbelievable job of having the edge rusher position really filled with 5 or 6 guys. When I look at their depth chart, Joe did a great job in bringing those guys in. They were trying to find roles and find playing time based on the amount of guys they had. First round picks, guys with big contracts. We see it on the tape. We obviously believe in also we want to be deep in our edge guys. 90% of the time we believe in having these fastballs off the edge and getting guys in the game. I think his perception that he's a liability against the run. Obviously, we'll see that, but we know he has the tools in his body to make the difference, and we're excited about him. So the one thing I looked at from this, that they always want to have guys, more depth on the edge. Okay, which could mean that Haason Reddick could be coming back because that's just an added piece. Bryce Huff is an added piece that is going to obviously start in a rotation, obviously. But Bryce Huff only played 43%, 45% of the snaps. Okay. The Jets had some bodies at edge rusher. Depending on all those contracts, the Jets want to bring Bryce Huff back. It didn't happen. Not for $17 million a year. They were going to bring him back. There were several suitors for Bryce Huff, a lot of interest. And I think this contract is going to look really good after this year. I don't think he'll get double-digit sacks this year. I think he's going to be very disruptive. He's a top 3 player when it comes to rush rate, win percentage rate. So really 9 out of 10 times on the line on his one-on-ones, always beating his man. So we saw what he did against us and other teams. Very disruptive player. If he's not getting the quarterback, he's helping somebody next to him. So I think he's gonna be a fantastic player. And for that price in a year, we're gonna look back and say, man, $17 million a year is nothing for this guy. For the amount of productivity he's gonna have as a defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles, or a outside linebacker, however they're going to use him, hopefully more on the line as is. So very excited about it. And obviously Joe Douglas was the assistant GM with Howie Roseman, and he gets a lot of feedback from players that Howie likes from the Jets, and probably got a lot of information from Joe Douglas on that. And yeah, I mean, sounds really excited about the signing. I'm excited about it too, but keeping Reddick, I think, is going to be the main deal of how this thing is going to work here. And if Howie likes to keep more depth on the edge, keep Haason Reddick and keep this thing moving, So that was the news on Bryce Huff. Now, the last thing I want to go over is the NFL has banned the hip drop tackle, and it is soaring through the league. And I know Jeffrey Lurie, all the owners had to vote on this, and I know Jeffrey Lurie voted on this. I think a lot of people voted on this, unfortunately. It's a basic tackle. It's nothing special. It's just a basic tackle. And unfortunately, there's going to be people that are going to be like, well, it's really not a basic tackle because you're twisting. You're grabbing the guy by his waist and you're twisting him down with your body. It's just so stupid to the point where it's turning into a flag football league. It's going to get worse. I guarantee you. And having Saquon Barkley might actually help us a lot with this penalty. But at the same time, we're going to get screwed. All the other teams are going to get screwed. I really hope that a playoff game or a Super Bowl isn't based off of a penalty like this, because it's going to ruin football. It's going to ruin it. And this thing will be, who knows? I don't know. What if it gets so bad this year that there's so many of these? You can't, before you tackle somebody, you have no time to think. You have no time to sit there and say, okay, well, I need to tackle. No, it doesn't happen that way. It does not happen that way. Okay, you have no time to think or even do any of that. But what I'm going to say is this. If this gets really bad this year, where this hip drop tackle rule it's enforced now, it's legal now, it's not legal anymore, and if guys are getting flags nonstop, I don't know if you can change a rule like this in-house here. You really can't, because then what? Teams have lost games because of this penalty. It's an automatic 15 yards. It's not even like 10 yards or 5. At least if it was 5 yards, okay. 15 yards, I mean, that's ridiculous. It's almost like these defenders can't play defense anymore. So, I mean, as a defender, if I was a defender, I wouldn't care. I tackle how I tackle. Physics is physics. Gravity is gravity when you throw somebody around. What if it's an undersized corner against a tight end and the guy has to grab his waist to bring him down? I mean, what are you supposed to do? I honestly don't know how you're supposed to loophole around this basic tackle, because this is all it is. At the end of the day, I know people were like, oh, well, people get hurt that way. I'm like, dude, seriously, people can get hurt in any way, fashion. Okay, it's already enough that you can't put your weight on a quarterback. You can't fully sack somebody and put all your weight on somebody. You can't hit someone below the knees, which I understand that. And I understand the concussion stuff. I understand helmet-to-helmet hits. I get it. Okay, I could deal with that. But this other stuff, now you're taking basic tackles out of the game, which are not controllable. This isn't a controllable thing. Putting your head down, I guess you control a little bit more than when you control in a basic tackle. But it's just, it's ridiculous. It's getting crazy, and I don't even know what to say. So that is everything that went on at the meetings in general. We talked about Quez Watkins. We talked about how we talk about Haason Reddick situation. It seems like it's still up in the air right now. Saquon Barkley situation, and obviously spoke a lot on Bryce Huff. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about the meetings in general, the hip drop tackle rule. Do you agree with it, disagree with it? And where is this Haason Reddick stuff going with him coming back to the Eagles or getting traded? Where do you think most likely, what direction is it going to go in? Guys, let me know in the comment section below. I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes what up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.